Welcome back. We are live on 5. Nina and Samuel are here with me. Don't forget, later on we'll debate banning screens for kids under 6. What do you think of that? But now, I want your calls on this. Is the tax on private school fees unfair on parents? 0207 862 2222 is the number. Parents had to start paying VAT from the 1st of January this year, which took the annual average fee for a non-boarding school from £18,000 to £25,000. Now, the financial planning firm Saltus has said that this change means that a family that sends 2 kids to private school, if they have a household income of £100,000, which sounds like a lot, they will be left with less than the national minimum wage. That's £23,908 for a 40-hour work week. If that family wants to maintain the average UK earnings after paying fees, they'd need to earn nearly £150,000 before they'd only need to make less than 130k. Still big money. Mm-hmm. Do you think that's unfair? Get your calls in now. We'd love to hear from you. Listen, I think it's really important we understand. I went to a private school. Samuel, how about yourself?
I went to a comprehensive.
Went to a comprehensive, Nina?
I went to a private school and then I went to a comprehensive school, so I have seen both sides now.
OK, we've got kind of one of each,
Yep.
right,
Yeah.
if you like.
Yep.
I'm just interested to see how you see this, Nina. Is it performing a valuable part of the education system that we have here in the UK for parents to be able to elect to send their kids where is best for them?
There must always be centres of excellence, and hopefully private schools are those centres. And if parents can afford it, that's fantastic. That's a choice you make and a lifestyle choice you make. However, what is less fair, I have to say, most people would struggle to feel sympathy for somebody on 100,000. Bring out the tiny violin. The problem is that our schools are, the average school experience for our children is not what it was in the past, because schools are overcrowded. Teachers don't have the status and standing that they used to have. They used to be pillars of the community and well respected. They earned a decent salary, but now teachers are burned out, they're pressurised. So you've got these overcrowded classrooms, you've got teachers who are pressurised. They train for 5 years and they go to Australia.
But there are some terrific state schools.
There are fabulous
the state school experience now, if you get the right one, can be absolutely brilliant.
Brilliant, but that's not all of them. So the teaching profession is bleeding teachers. They can't take the pace of it. Plus, we haven't spent enough on the infrastructure. Our schools are falling down. That scandal with the rack, the concrete. So they're not in buildings that have been maintained. Some schools are fantastic, but not all of them. And so children across this country are not getting the schooling they deserve. And that's the most important. These children are our future.
Yeah. OK, so, you tax private schools, you send that money to state schools. That's what you're saying. This sounds like... do you think, Samuel, that a lot of these parents are already subsidising those kids and creating space in state schools by taking their kids out?
Yeah, I think this tax is an attack on aspiration. It's virtue signalling. It's everything that's wrong with Keir Starmer's current project for many reasons. First and foremost, the people that are being most affected by the VAT on school fees are the squeezed middle, who continue to be squeezed. And those are the people who should, like everybody, have the opportunity to have a choice around how they bring up their children.
But people who don't have the income don't have the choice of that.
Sometimes,
Sometimes
the issue is actually not that they want to send their child to a private school. It could be that a child has some challenges. They might have special education needs, and they feel like the best place for their child to have the best education is in a place where they're going to have to pay. And if you are earning between 100 and 145 £1,000 between yourselves as a family, it doesn't necessarily mean... Okay, so in other countries, it means you're quite rich. In this country,
take those,
over half of that goes to the taxman.
We understand there are, special educational needs and, schools that cater for disabled pupils as well. Take them out of the equation. The rest of them, they're businesses. They're not charities.
Yeah, no, and also that is not the only problem. Obviously, we're in the middle of a housing crisis, so you might not be able to move to a place where there are better comprehensive schools. And so for you, the trade-off could be, well, actually, I'm going to have to make some sacrifices to put my kids in school. International students who have wealthy parents are not going to be affected by this. Okay. It's the squeezed middle that everyone keeps.
Let's find out. Shafiq's in Warwick. Shafiq, tell me, is this something that's affected you? Has the tax on private schools made a difference? Because it came in January the 1st, didn't it?
Hi, yeah. Hi. So my child has been at private school for the last couple of years, and we're on the borderline of being able to pay. And because of the VAT, we're now having to move our child out of private school. She's going to have to move to state school. Why
did you send her there in the first place, Shafiq? Why not a comprehensive state school near you?
It's a mixture of reasons. One of the reasons is the poor discipline in state schools, much better discipline in the private schools. The standard of education is simply better. The facilities they have at the school is better. And I wanted my child to learn how to be disciplined and how to actually motivate herself rather than expecting the teachers at school to do everything for her.
Shafiq, what were the sacrifices you as a family had to make to ensure that she got the education you thought was best for her?
So, basically, I drive a car which is about 13 years old, have to maintain it myself. We go on holiday. We go on holiday to France. We don't go off jet setting around the world. We don't have fancy stuff. I mean, we make a lot of sacrifices compared to other people who send their kids to state school.
And what's the effect that it's having on your daughter? The fact, is she moving mid-education? What year is she in?
So she's currently in year 8. The way the government introduced the tax is, to my mind, disgusting. They've introduced it in January, partway through a year. So parents, and I'm sure they've done this on purpose, so parents are put in the position, they have to choose, do I pull my child out of school mid-year, or do I continue paying the elevated fees for the rest of the year? Or do I continue paying the higher fees for the rest of the time that they're in secondary school? I know of children who are doing GCSEs. They're having to move school mid-year, and they can't take any of their coursework with them. So I don't even understand how they'll even be able to do their GCSEs.
Thank you for the call. Nina, I'm just listening to Shafiq there. It's not just the fact this new tax has been brought in, or that they're having to pay the tax. It's the fact that the way it's been brought in feels brutal for someone like Shafiq's
I think the January instigation of it is actually wrong and unfair, and I completely understand what Shafiq is saying. He was in a fortunate position that he had the choice before this happened to send. The people who don't earn that much money, which is the majority of people, do not have that choice.
Look, £1.8 billion, which is what the Treasury has said this rise will give, is a drop in the ocean in comparison to the investment needed in the education budget. Firstly. Secondly, should we be in a position where we are denying someone like Shafiq the choice about how he invests in his child's education because of wider failures from this government and previous governments? That sounds totally unfair.
You cannot blame failures in the education system on this current government. I think we can blame it fairly and squarely.
Blame whoever you want, but it's not Shafiq's fault.
Let's put the blame where it is. It is not Keir Starmer's fault that the education system is crumbling. It is the 14 years of Tory misrule.
Can I just say, on education failures, right? When Tories came in 2010, we were towards the bottom of every single league table. We've moved up. Academisation has made an impact. So one area where I don't agree with Shafiq is the idea that all schools, public schools, comprehensive schools lack discipline and they're not quality. There are quality schools out there.
The ones in his area, that's what he was saying. Exactly. He had to make a choice because of that. Tom's in Shropshire. Tom, what do you reckon? Is this unfair on people like Shafiq, people you've heard from today that place their kids there because they thought it was the best thing for them?
Not at all. I don't think it's unfair at all, because at the end of the day, private school is a choice. They can choose to send their child to public school if they want to. Because look, this is the ridiculous thing. If you can't afford it in the first place, and you know down the line that you're not going to be able to afford it, just don't put your kids in private school anyway, because it's about $9,000 a term. It's a hefty amount of money. So it's a choice. And if you can't afford to, take your kids to private school, then just don't.
But Shafi could afford it. He could afford it because he was making the sacrifices he was, because he thought that was the most important thing he could do for his daughter, was to send her to the school that was absolutely right for her and would give her the best chance going forward. Any parent's going to do that, Tom. They'll make the sacrifice.
Well, the thing is, I know people who have been publicly educated and they've done, they're multimillionaires. So I don't think in terms of education...
No one's saying that can't happen. Yeah. It's when they've made that decision and they think it's within the bounds of affordability, and suddenly in the middle, halfway through a term, they've had to take their kid out.
And Shafiq is still a taxpayer, by the way. He still works.
Let's hear back from Tom.
Well, I mean, the thing is, the question is, who are private schools serving? I mean, at the end of the day, they're only serving the rich. And I think, 21% of the country is in poverty. And there's some people, education-wise, who are living the high life. And there's people in, a lot of people in public schools who can't afford, the dinners or the breakfast clubs. I think it's completely ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to find the extremes wherever you look. You'll find the very rich and those people are struggling by and still sending their kids to state schools. And then there's a load of people in the middle too. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Tom. We're going to move on.